Good day, everyone. I hope that you're good today. So, in this lesson, we are going to be looking at the creditors ledger, the creditors list, as well as the creditors control. Okay, let us get right into it. So, we are given information regarding our creditors. We are given the creditors list on or for the 31st of October 2025. These are individual balances that we owe to our creditors on the 31st of October, but we are required to do the bookkeeping, to do the creditors ledger, to do the creditors list and creditors control account for the month of November. So what does this mean? It means that these balances will be brought down to the month of November. So this makes these balances to be the balance that are going to be brought down for the month of November, or you can say these are the opening balances for November 2025. Okay, so we are given the balance of 4 creditors: creditor number 1, creditor number 2, creditor number 4, but there is no balance for creditor number 3. How do we get this balance for creditor number 3? It's that easy, because you are given the total. You are given the total of all the creditors, the total of all the creditors for the month of October or the beginning of November. What does this total mean? This total is the total of all our creditors, but this is a total that it's a summary of the balance of all our creditors in a nutshell. That means all of our creditors combined, they owe us 92,000, which is the balance that we can use as the opening balance for the creditors control account as well. As we know that the creditors control account is a summary, of all our creditors. Okay, so how much do you get when you work backwards or trying to find the missing figure, which is your X? So the final answer that you should get is 11,000. That is the opening balance for creditor Tatejo Molepo, creditor number 3. Okay, so we are done with the opening balances. And then one other thing that you should know is the purpose of each journal. Okay, so the journals that we are given is number 1, the creditors journal. So the creditors journal looks at the credit purchases of items. Okay, that means whenever we buy items on credit, whenever we buy anything on credit, or even if we render a service on credit, it gets recorded under the creditors journal. Okay, so if you look at the previous lesson that I recorded, we analyzed these credit transactions and how they affect the creditors control account. So if you are buying on credit, the creditors control account will increase. Okay, because your liabilities are going up, your debts are going up. So we record, or the account that gets affected is the creditors control account. Okay. Also, what you need to know is the source document. This part right here. This part right here, the source document. So before you record in any journal, you need evidence that that transaction took place. So which evidence is that? Which source document is that? The source document that we are given as a business when we buy from the creditors is the original credit invoice. Remember, we are the debtors in this case. We are the customers. Okay, so the customer always gets the original invoice or the original source document. Okay, moving on to the creditors allowances journal. Creditors allowances journal, you should also know the purpose of it. What is the purpose? The purpose is to show returns or record transaction relating to returns made to creditors during the month. Okay, yes. So when you are returning, the account that will be affected, one of the accounts that will be affected is the creditors control account. But how? How will it be affected? It will decrease because you no longer owe for the item that you returned. Okay, so it reduces the debt that you had initially accumulated. And then the name of the source document, when you return to the creditor, you have to issue out a debit note. But since you are the one issuing it out, that means the person or the business you are issuing it out to will get the original copy and you will keep the copy. It's called a duplicate debit note. So when you are returning goods or returning items back to the creditor, the goods or the items will be accompanied by a debit note. Okay, very important. And then the next one, the cash payments journal. The cash payments journal looks at cash payments. Okay, and one of the accounts that will be affected is the bank account. So we know that the bank account will decrease. This is the main account. Money is coming out or cash is coming out of the bank. But in this case, we are going to be looking at the cash payments made to the creditors. That involves now the creditors control being affected. So we are basically reducing the debt of the business, so the creditors control account will decrease. And which source document will act as a source of evidence that payments were made? We will check the bank statement. Of course, there can be other things that you can check. You can check the EFT reference number, or you can check the EFT voucher. Okay, yes. And then let's go and complete what we need to complete. So here we are required to do the creditors ledger, the creditors list, as well as the creditors control. So we are given the creditors ledger and they want us to complete the ledger for creditor number 3, Tatejo Molepo. Okay, but before we start, let's take time to analyze the creditors ledger for those who don't know. Okay, the creditors ledger format actually is a 3-column format consisting of the debit side, the credit side column, as well as the balance column. Okay, so It's the same as a general ledger, but this one has a different format. Okay, there's a different format. In accounting, we like simplifying things so that they are clear and understandable. Okay, so we have the debit side, we have the credit side. Anything that has a debit or credit on it, analyze it. Are you dealing with a liability? Are you dealing with an asset? Are you dealing with an income or expense, owner's equity or capital? What are you dealing with here? So since we are working with creditors, that means we are dealing with a liability account, because creditors are the liabilities of the business. What does this mean now? Let's analyze. Liabilities increase on the credit side and decrease on the debit side. You can also use that click if you don't understand or you can't remember where each account increases or decreases. Use that click. I think it's more useful as well. So since we are looking at the liability, we know that if the account of Thategô Molepo is increasing, we are going to credit that amount. If it's decreasing, we are going to debit that amount. Okay, and the last column, you're showing the balance for each, and after completing a transaction with the creditor, show the balance, the adjusted balance, all the time after each and every transaction. Okay, but we need information only relating to creditor Thategô Molepo. We don't need information from any other creditor. This creditor's ledger involves, or the creditor's ledger in a nutshell, involves individual accounting records of each and every creditor. So the creditor that we are doing the recording for in the creditor's ledger is Thategô Molepo. Okay, that means we need to look at every piece of information, every piece of record relating to Thategô Molepo. So let's go back to the information. But before we go to the information, just want to remind you of something. There's a 3-step process that you need to complete when you are doing a ledger. Firstly, you need to open your account, you need to post to your account, and you need to show the closing balance of your account. Open, post, and close. Always follow this 3-step process. Okay, so firstly, we are going to open the account of Thategô Molepo, or we are going to show the opening balance of Thategô Molepo. But before we go to the information, let's write the date. So according to the information, the year is 2025, the month is November. We need the opening balance. Okay, so it's going to be balance brought down. Okay, some textbooks will say account rendered. It's still fine. Okay, so let us go to the information. We are looking for the opening balance. Do we have the opening balance for Thategô Molepo? Yes, the opening balance for Thategô Molepo is 11,000, the one that we calculated earlier. So let's go and record that 11,000 under the creditors ledger of Thategô Molepo, for Thategô Molepo actually. So it's going to be 11,000 only under the balance column, because it is not a transaction, it's just a balance. Okay, so if it's a transaction, if you're posting a transaction, that's where you're going to record either on the debit side or on the credit side. Okay, so let's go back now. Now we are going to post. We are done with opening with the first step. Now we need to post to the account of Thategô Molepo. We are going to look for any transaction that involves Thategô Molepo, whether we bought from Thategô Molepo, whether we we paid Tate Kgomo, any, okay, as business. So let's go and look for Tate Kgomo. Anywhere we see Tate Kgomo, just highlight, okay. So day 7 is Signolo with Tate Kgomo. Day 14 we bought from Tate Kgomo. We bought from Tate Kgomo, and let me see, we have another Tate Kgomo transaction on the 26th. So we bought twice from Tate Kgomo. Take note that I use people's names, but maybe they are businesses, ne? Okay. And then, did we return anything to Tate Kgomo? Yes, day 18. And then on day 27th. Okay. And then, did we pay Tate Kgomo? Did we make any payments? Yes. Day 20 and day 29. But when you enter these transactions in the creditors ledger, you need to enter them in date wise order. Okay, so they need to be in order according to the day. Okay, so which one came first? The one that came first is on the 14th, and then followed by the one on the 18th, followed by the one on the 20th, followed by the one on the 26th, followed by the one on the 27th, and then the 29th. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 transactions that we need to record under the creditors ledger of Tate Kgomo. So let us do that. We said the first one is day 14. So what happened on day 14? Under the creditors journal, we bought. Okay, what did we buy? Trading stock, we bought stationery, we bought packing material. So let us go to the creditors ledger and capture that information. So day 14 is the day. I'm using the wrong color pen here. Which one can I use? Let me use green. So it's day 14. Details, because we are buying, is going to be invoice. You can write invoice, you can write original invoice. But what is the invoice number now? The invoice number is 249. Can you see that? It's 249. The number on the invoice is 249. From which journal are we taking this information from? Let's check. The folio is CJ number 10. So you go back, you write CJ number 10. Okay, since we are buying, what's happening to the account? Is it increasing or decreasing? Because we are buying, remember I gave you a side note here. When we buy, what's happening? The liability account or the creditors account will increase. So increase by how much? Said 43,000. Where are we getting the 43,000 from? You use the amount from the creditors control. This is how much you spent on credit on day 14 from Tate Kgomo's business. So you're going to write 43,000 on the credit side. And guys, immediately you need to update the balance. Okay, so it's going to be 11,000 plus 43,000. So it's going to be plus here 43,000. And how much do you get? You should have 54,000. After day 14, your credit now has risen up to 54,000. Okay, so let's go to the next transaction. The next transaction is day 18. Remember, they need to be in date order. Day 18 it's under the creditors allowances journal, so it's a return to Thategô Molepo of 2000. This is 2000, and the document number is 75. Okay, so we go back, stay 18. Since it's a return, remember the source document number is debit note number 75. Remember, under details, we record the source document used as well as the number on the source document. Okay, so don't be surprised when I say invoice 249. We record the invoice, the name of the invoice, as well as the source document number, or the invoice number, or the debit note number. Okay, from which journal are we getting this information from? It's going to be CAJ number 10, the reference number of the CAJ. So are we going to increase or decrease the account? Remember the piece of information that I gave to you. The creditors account will decrease. It will reduce the amount that we owe to them. So what is the amount? The amount should be 2000. Okay, 2000. So what is the balance after returning? So you minus this. Since it's on the debit side, you minus. It shows that you are reducing. So the current balance now is 52,000 rand. Okay, then you move on to the next transaction. The next transaction that we made with Thategô Molepo was on the 20th. Okay, we made a payment to Thategô Molepo on the 20th, okay, of 19,000. So you go back. So on the 20th, you're going to write bank statement or EFT. It doesn't have a number, so we'll just write the name. Bank statement, spelling, bank statement. Okay, and then CPJ number 10. We get in this transaction, or we extracted this transaction from the CPJ. We are reducing the account by how much? By 19,000. Okay, so what is the new balance? Guys, you don't have to do these arrows. I'm just showing you, for illustration purposes. So what is the new balance after paying 19,000? You should get 33,000 after making that payment. Okay, and then there was another transaction on day 26. So let's go to day 26. Under which journal? It's under the creditors journal. That means there was a credit purchase from Thategô Molepo, and the amount is 24,000. Okay, but there's something also I need to clarify. For when we made a payment, we used the amount under the creditors control account only. Don't use the amount under the bank account. Okay, if there was any amount under the bank account, we only want the amount that was paid to the creditor. So you take the amount from the creditors control column. Okay, so moving on, we are still on day 26. Day 26, we made a purchase from Thategô Molepo of 24,000. Okay, invoice number 251. So let's go back. So day 26, invoice number 251, CJ number 10. That's where the transaction is coming from. We are buying, so our debt goes up by 24,000. So what is the new balance after buying or making a purchase? It's 57,000. Okay, I hope you are getting this by now. Then let's move on to day 27 was the next transaction. Day 27. It's under the allowances journal. So there was a return to the creditor Tatego Molepo, and then the document number is 76. So that means we are reducing the account. So it's 27, debit note, number 76. Was it 76? Yes, 76. Let's go back and check. Yes, it was 76. Okay, from CAJ number 10. We are reducing the account because we returned. So it's going to be how much? It's 1,000. Okay, 1,000. So what is the new balance now? It's 56,000. And then the last transaction that we entered with Tatego Molepo in is day 29. So it's a payment that we made. So look at your creditors control column. Look at the source document as well. So we made a payment of 5,000 to Tatego Molepo. So we are going to say day 29. Right, bank statement. It doesn't have a number. Where are we getting this information from? CPJ number 10. Are we reducing or increasing the account? We are making a payment to the creditor, so we are reducing how much we owe to the creditor, and then the balance now is 51,000. Okay, so this balance at the end, this is the balance at the end of the month. Okay, for November, for Tatego Molepo. So where are we going to take this balance to? Already the other balances for the other creditors have been captured. So this is where this balance will go. So at the end of November, we owe Tatego Molepo 51K. Okay, so what is the total amount of all the creditors at the end of the month? How much do we owe all our creditors at the end of the month? So if you add up all the balances for each and every creditor, you should have 217,000 rands. Okay, so you are done with the creditors ledger, you are done with the creditors list. Okay, so going back to the creditors list, so this is the balance of the creditors, of all our creditors at the end of the month. So we know it's a summary. Creditors control is a summary of all our creditors. Okay, so this is the creditors control balance at the end of the month. Remember, we said the creditors list at the beginning of the month is the opening balance of your creditors control account. Okay, and then the creditors list at the end of the month of November is the balance of it is the closing balance of your creditors control account. Now we are going to look at the creditors control account. So before we start, let us analyze the creditors control account. Creditors control account is a liability account. What do we know about liabilities account? They increase on the credit, they decrease on the debit side. Okay, so for each and every ledger, guys, you follow the 3-step process: opening, posting, and closing, OPC. So we need to open the ledger account. On which side are we going to open this ledger account? We are going to open it on the increasing side. Okay, the increasing side is on the credit side. So the opening balance, since it's a balance sheet account, It's going to be 2025 November the 1st. You are going to write balance brought down. What is the balance brought down of the creditors control? The opening balance of all our creditors. Remember, we wrote it down. So the amount there is 92,000. So it's going to be 92,000. Then we are done with the first part, which is opening. And then we post. From which channel are we posting from? So guys, please note this down. When you post, you're going to post the following. You're going to say purchases. We want the purchases. We want the payments. And we want the returns. PPR. All the time. PPR. Okay. So let's start with the purchases. But remember, a general ledger account deals with the totals. A subsidiary ledger account deals with individual records. So we only looking for totals here. Okay, the summary. So do we have total purchases here? Yes, we do have total purchases. Where? Here, for the creditors control. Okay, so we need to post this amount to the creditors control account. Okay, so you need to reference that you are taking this amount to B9. Remember, the reference number of the account that we are posting to is B9. Okay, let me show you. This is where we are getting the B9 from. Okay, so how much are the total purchases? 264,000. Where are we going to post them? We are going to post them on the increasing side, because purchases increase the debts of the business. Okay, so let us post. So we are posting for 2025 November, so you don't have to repeat the year and the month, but it's last day of the month, né? So the 30th. So what are you going to write under details? You cannot write creditors control. Okay, but it's the total of the creditors control. You can write sundry purchases, or you can write total purchases. Okay, so you can say sundry purchases or total purchases. From which channel are these purchases coming from? CJ number 10. How much? 264,000 purchases were made during the month of November. The amount that we spent on credit for purchases, rather. And then the second step, did we make any payments? So we are looking for total payments that we made by the business to the creditors. Okay, so which journal can we look at for payments? We look at the cash payments journal. But which total are we going to look at now? We are going to look at the total for the creditors control. Okay, column, which is 128,000, which is the total amount of payments that were made towards the creditors. Okay, so you go to your creditors control, payments decrease, how much you owe to the creditors. So it's going to be on the debit side or the reducing side. Okay, so we're going to have the year, going to record the year as 2025 November, but since we are posting a total at the end of the month, we're at the 31st or the 30th, sorry. And then what are we going to write? Bank, the contra account for payments. Okay, so it's going to be what? It's going to be the folio where we are getting the payments from. The journal we are getting the payments from is CPJ number 10. How much were the payments? Let's check. Payments were 128,000. So we're going to say 128,000. We made payments worth 128,000. Okay, so moving on, the last part, returns. So with returns, we look at the creditors' allowances journal. We want the total returns that we made to the creditors. So we look at the creditors control column. Okay, so returns worth 11,000 were made, so they reduce the account. Okay, so it's going to be 2025 November the 30th. You don't have to repeat the day, the year, the month. Okay, still the same, it's recorded. So what are we going to write? We can write, let me change the color pen. You can write sundry or total allowances. Okay, from each channel, CAJ number 10, how much? 11,000. And then you are done posting, because you've posted your purchases, your payments, as well as your returns. Okay, now we have to, okay, this one is done. And then now we have to do the closing. Remember how we close? The side that is bigger, or the side that has the biggest amount, so should always be, for you guys, should always be the credit side. So in the credit side, we have 92,000. We add it with 64,000. So on the debit side, we have, let me write it here. On the debit side, we have, sorry, credit side, we have 356,000. And then on the debit side, we have a total of 139,000. Okay, so we can see that the credit side is bigger than the debit side. Okay, so let's close. So you always balance the smaller side to make it the same as the bigger side. So what am I saying? I'm saying that you always use or take the total of the bigger side and enter it on both sides. Okay, so you need to make the smallest side to be the same as the bigger side. Okay, so how much is missing on the smaller side to make it the same as the bigger side? So if you say 356,000 minus 11,000 from the debit side minus 128,000 from the debit side, you will get 217,000, which is the balancing figure, the missing figure to get to 356,000. This is known as your balance carried down, or your closing balance at the end of the month. Okay, you are not done. You also need to show the opening balance for the next month. Okay, the next month is December. 01 balance brought down. Okay, how much is the opening balance for next month? 217,000. I want you to look at something here. Can you see that your closing balance let me use this one. Your closing balance, your balance carried down is the same as the the closing balance of all your creditors. Okay, that is why we said creditors control is a summary of all your creditors balances. Okay, so they should always be the same. Even the opening balance, the 92,000, is the same as the opening balance of the creditors list here. Okay, they should always be the same because creditors control is a summary of all your creditors. Okay, I hope you learned something in this lesson. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.